Good afternoon. Welcome. And at this time, Chris Newkirk, our emergency management leader, is going to lead us with the invocation. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Let us pray. Lord, we come to you now and we just thank you for another day in your presence, Lord, and for the opportunities that you give us, Lord, and we especially thank you for the men and women that you call to be public servants in our county and elected officials, Lord. I just ask that you be with us all now as we go through the struggles and burdens of making decisions on how to best serve our community moving forward, Lord. And I just ask that you tune our ear to hear you clearly, because often your voice isn't the loudest in the room, Lord, but we ask that you just put a path before us, that we see your will and your intentions plainly, Lord, that you allow us the courage to walk that path. Lord, that you continue to bless us and our county in all ways, that you keep us safe, that you use us in ways to bring others to know you better, and we pray these things in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Chris. At this time, I'll call the June meeting to order, and I'll ask that you stand, and Commissioner Dunn is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you have your phones with you, I would ask that you please put it on vibrate or close it completely. This time we'll see if anyone has a conflict of interest as it pertains to tonight's agenda. No, hearing none, we'll move to the approval of the agenda, and we have two changes that the staff has asked for us to make. They asked to pull number 10 under consent for further discussion, so that's number 10. And then they've asked for a personnel session or executive session to discuss personnel at the very end. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of the agenda with those two changes, please raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right. We're down to the items for presentation. The first one is the service awards presentation, and Katie's going to do that.
Good evening, gentlemen. We have one tonight, and that's going to be Ms. Karen Chrisman from Social Services with 20 years of service.
Thanks for your service. Okay, the next item for presentation is the opioid settlement strategies update. And I believe Tiffany. Good evening.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Board of Commissioners. So my name's Tiffany Moore. I am here to present just some updates and highlights about the opioid settlement. The first thing that I wanted to present to you on was the Peer Support Specialist Program. I am delighted to state that now we have 2 peer support specialists who are employed through the opioid settlement. One of those I would like to brag on for just a minute and let you know that he is in the process of receiving his certified drug and alcohol counselor certification. He has been with us for about a year and a half now, and he has been the longest period that we've had in this program.
Super.
Just a little about the peers and the things that they've been able to do. So peers are individuals with lived experience. They're able to walk alongside the individuals who are going into treatment for substance use disorder. They act as a support system with special knowledge of the situations that they are in. 88% of participants connected to treatment and detox services through our peer support program. They navigate them through the uncertainty of the journey and give them tools for resilience as they're entering treatment and recovery. I understand that you all have quite a long agenda tonight, so I'm going to kind of highlight some of the larger points on here as you have the presentation in front of you. So with giving you some metrics and outcomes for these peer support specialists, 55% of participants demonstrated long-term stability through employment, housing, continued treatment, or educational enrollment, transportation, insurance, or legal navigation. 18 of our participants have successfully completed key goals in their treatment plans, so they have been discharged due to that success. 5 participants have either graduated from recovery court or their treatment programs. 10% were able to gain their driver's license. 8% achieved their higher education goals. 12% were able to obtain stable housing. And 70% of the participants remain in their treatment programs or with the recovery court. So we've seen a lot of successes with this program. They've been able to work with a total of 51 peers, so we have almost an equal amount of male and females that we have in the program, and we have a male peer and a female peer to work accordingly. Next slide, please. Our opioid prevention education specialist, commonly we call her our opioid educator. In the past year, she was able to work with 1,173 students. She has expanded her focus area in the demographics in which she serves. Initially, she was working with just the high school students and smaller community organizations. She has been asked to join in with juvenile justice, Daughters of Worth, also working with our middle school, P.S. Jones, to do an assembly style format. Again, we understand that the age of first use is occurring earlier and earlier with our youth, so we wanted to get them as soon as we can to delay that age of first use or to prevent any type of use. She has also expanded with other collaborative partners such as Terracea Christian School, Beaufort County Micro School, and she had the idea to target our athletes this year, ensuring that those who are under high levels of stress to achieve and perform have good coping skills to use instead of substance use. And we've also expanded the curriculums that she's using this year, so we reached out to our Stanford Medicine Research Lab. We got information from DEA on their Operation Prevention program to incorporate into her Teen Talks program, as well as Catch My Breath, which she acquired certification for last year, which has elaborated their focus areas to expand more into substance use and opioid use. So just some of her key takeaways. We did go back and kind of review the curriculum she was originally using. Again, you know, before we talked about focusing on making sure they understand the language when we're discussing opioids and opiates. Well, we also, going back to some of the knowledge we gained from the DEA, thought it would be important to incorporate, especially being that this is opioid settlement funded, that there's that they understand the dangers that are involved with using prescription medications as well. So a lot of, and you'll see this a little bit further in her takeaways, but a lot of our kids are using prescription medications that they're buying off the street because the kids are getting into their parents' stash. So 70% of the students, she did Narcan training with them as well, so they understand the signs of an overdose, life-saving capabilities that Narcan has, and also the steps that they should take if they come across someone who's in an overdose situation. 85% of the students report and understand of the risk associated with misuse of medications. Again, we need to make sure they understand the language that we're using for them, but we also need to make sure they understand that there are more than one way that you can become dependent on a substance. And again, taking into that prescribed medicine component there. And with her having been in this role for at least 2 years or longer, she's actually has a lot of rapport that she's built with these students. So this year, the takeaways are a little different than they have been recently. They've been more forthcoming with her about their substance use, but also the ways that they're receiving these substances. So a couple of things that they noted was their ability to get substances off the internet. You can go to Twitter, you can go to Snapchat, you can go to any of the social media outlets and actually order drugs online. So they need to understand that there is a bigger danger associated with ordering these drugs offline. Another takeaway was that kids are receiving these drugs at home. They're either having parents to buy these substances for them, or they are getting into their parents' stash. Some of them are going into the medicine cabinet and just picking it. It's easily accessible. So teaching parents that lock boxes and things like that are important as well for prevention. And also vape shops across the country. Any conference you go to, you will hear that vape shops allow easy access because a lot of times they don't ID the kids when they come in. And they look as young as they are, but these vape shops are trying to make a buck. For instance, you can look in Chocowinity on one corner. You have 4 vape shops in one location. They're in walking distance of each other. Look at Washington, several vape shops. I have kids myself in this age range. They say the same thing. They do not discriminate when you come in, and they don't ID. So again, just knowing how they come across these substances and how easily accessible they are to them. Next slide, please. So I did want to focus a little more on our community programs that are supported through the opioid settlement. We do have a few new ones here. Mays Outreach Center is a nonprofit organization on the south side, focused in Aurora mainly, but Edwards, Chocowinity, those areas are also receiving assistance through this program. Our District 2 Recovery Court program was one of our pilots this time as well. That is a specialized court program for individuals who are criminal justice involved due to substance-related crimes. Prevention Point is our syringe service program at Beaufort County Health Department. It provides evidence-based strategies for harm reduction, as well as Daughters of Worth, which we've worked with over the past couple of years, who focus on victims of human trafficking who have the intersection of substance use disorder. And our Boys and Girls Club program did not receive funding this time, although it was in the works, but due to structural changes with the program, the Bellhaven unit closed down, so we withheld the funds. And just to highlight some of these, to give you a little more specifics. So again, Mays Outreach Center is located in Aurora, North Carolina. One of the key takeaways from this is that this lady is opening a true pilot for us. This isn't one of these pre-existing organizations that the county's familiar with. It is something they are actually trying to bring resources to the south side of the river because, as we know, they lack more resources in other areas of the county. So participants receive connections to community resources and education. At her Let's Talk About the Rippling Effect of Substance Use Recovery event that she held. The first one, she was able to reach 33% of attendees, reached out for referrals after the program. And again, I want to go back and highlight that we know substance use is a problem for the user, but we haven't given consideration to the consequences of the family members, the loved ones, the people who are struggling alongside with them and trying to reach out for help and don't know how. So she also takes them into consideration when she's doing these programs over on the south side. Early feedback from attendees expressed gratitude to have programs on that side of the county. She wanted to highlight In particular, again, going back to the familial relationships, that she was able to assist one individual mother with having her son IVC, which is an involuntary commitment. Again, dual diagnosis a lot of times occurs with people who use substances. They have both mental illness and substance use disorder. This person was deemed to be a threat to themselves or others, so that IVC process is important, and they got through the process. They are now residing in the Oxford House where they're continuing to receive treatment for substance use disorder. Another individual who had problems with employment prior to this was able to go get into treatment, start their recovery journey, and is now able to be employed and have stability. Just a few other takeaways. She has worked with 46 total individuals. 35% of those she was able to reach with the Let's Talk About the Rippling Effect event. But as you see from the pictures highlighted below, she has a boots-on-the-ground approach to getting this information to the community and providing support to people who are a lot of times hesitant. So she's going around providing hygiene kits, teaching them about Narcan and safe ways, appropriate ways to administer it. She also partners with other collaborative actions such as Community in Action, Fresh Anointing Church, to promote the program. She just this past weekend held an event in Aurora again going back out there trying to bring more people in and getting her partners to come in and help with these trainings. Next slide, please. Our District 2 Recovery Court program, one of the biggest takeaways from them is that their program has grown since they were able to receive this report. I know at the time of application they were struggling to get their participants to court and to treatment services. So they have grown from having 12 active participants at the time of application to now having 19. 3 of those individuals has graduated from the program. 3 have been able to sustain sobriety for 6 months or longer. And they've seen a 58% increase in the program. And not only do these individuals stay within the Recovery Court program for at a minimum a year and a half to 2 years, and depending on their journey, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but on average about 2 years, they encourage them to seek out additional supports in the community as well. So not to have them in this program where they have this toolbox of help and support for 2 years and then they're just kind of thrown to the wolves. They make sure that they're engaged with other community supports as well that can help them to sustain their sobriety. Next slide, please. So our next pilot is Prevention Point. Prevention Point has had 265 encounters with participants. 32 new participants are enrolled in the program. 19 participants were connected to community resources for STI testing, counseling services, and medical treatment. 4 participants were referred to Beaufort County Health Department Medication Assisted Treatment Program. Again, MAT is imperative to individuals who are struggling with the physiological dependence of substance use and the withdrawal symptoms they go through. It's a way to wean them off without them completely relapsing because of the physical problems that come along with withdrawal. Some benefits to the participants. There's a lower risk of transmitting bloodborne pathogens and other infections associated with injection drug use. They have delivery options both in-house and they can have them delivered to them on site if they have transportation barriers. New supplies were added for wound care, sterilization, and safe disposal of supplies, again thinking about the public health risk of injection drug use. And they were able to increase the number of syringes that are returned to the program, which is important as well. We don't want unsafe supplies or needles and things out in our community for our kids to stumble across. Next slide, please. Daughters of Worth, again, this is kind of one of our repeat pilots we've supported for the past 2 years. She has had 18 total survivors over the last year, 16 exclusively diagnosed with opioid use disorder. 2 of those individuals were sent to detox or inpatient treatment services but left shortly after. Some successes: 3 clients received MAT services, 4 clients were referred to a long-term treatment facility. 5 clients were relocated out of state where they're still receiving recovery support services. And one of the individuals was an extreme success. They went through the inpatient treatment process and got out and is now in an Oxford house and has continued outpatient treatment. 2 were relocated but not referred to treatment. They had been exposed to substance use but didn't form a dependency from their assessment. And she continues to work within Beaufort County, working with Beaufort County Sheriff's Office to provide direct services to women who are currently incarcerated. She also works with our opioid educator through Beaufort County Health Department. She's reached at least 200 students through that. And just to go back one point, she has recently received 5 referrals for youth with substance use disorder and or trafficking and exploitation through Beaufort County school systems. So again, a lot of prevention wrapped into intervention.
When that happens in the school system, are there any criminal charges filed or just a referral?
It starts out as a referral and then they try to track down the trafficker and start pursuing them for prosecution or criminal justice involvement. And just to give you a couple of success stories, I know, again, talking about substance use and opioid use disorder is not the brightest topic that we want to talk about, but with the opioid educator, she wanted to note that during one of the Teen Talk sessions, a student disclosed that she engages in substance use to cope with different stressors in life. After learning this, we discussed different healthy coping strategies that can help with managing stress. At the end of the session, the student expressed that she is willing to try some of the coping strategies that she was taught through this program as opposed to using substances. To summarize what Recovery Court has basically said, they've had, as I said before, a 58% increase in enrollment that has boosted the morale among participants. Again, these people are facing legal troubles and not necessarily sure how they're going to get to these mandated treatments and court sessions and things like that. So increase in participation, but also an increase in morale for the participants. And they have to date 10 referrals pending for Beaufort County, so they are looking to enlist new individuals in the program as well. Our peer support specialists wanted to give us their one story about their participant. So TT, a black male participant, was released from prison with no license or stable access to services. Through coordinated support, he gained his driver's license and secured treatment. Since discharge, he continues to maintain stability and avoid recidivism. His case represents the power of targeted intervention and consistent case management. May's outreach, you have that one there as well. I kind of gave you a couple of her highlights. She was really excited about her program, so she gave us several, so I won't read this one. And Prevention Point, a participant of the Prevention Point program has successfully continued to receive treatment for substance use disorder through a third party. They have drastically reduced their substance use, and they have reached out for counseling services even when they were completely against it from the start. So again, a change in attitude with a lot of these individuals who have been struggling for years and did not think that there was hope or a bright light at the end of their struggle, are starting to see that the community is caring and there's help out there. So a lot of change that we're seeing going on, not only in our numbers, but also with the individuals that we're working with. And the last slide here, just to kind of give you a current status update, we are wrapping up our second year of our 3-year strategic plan. Today you will have for consent, I think, an amendment to the spending resolution that was initially introduced to you. On June 17th, we will have a mandatory annual meeting that is required by the opioid settlement that will take place at Beaufort County Community College from 10 to 12 noon. And by September 6th of 2026, we will need to revisit the collaborative strategic planning process for option B, which Beaufort County has undertaken. And at that point, a new option B report and recommendation will need to be due because this one is currently good for 4 years. And I'm sorry, I know that was brief and very quick, but I want to see if you have any questions.
You did good.
Thank you.
You did good. Questions? You did raise questions about the vape stores as it related to the age.
Yes.
I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but who is responsible for policing the age group?
In all,
I know the owner's somebody's supposed to be asking for the identification.
in all honesty, it's whoever's running the register at the time.
Let's go back to the last meeting. We passed a resolution at the last meeting to support the legislature in passing a law to regulate tobacco shops. And I was very disappointed, and this board voted against my addition to that resolution that minor children below the age of 18 or 21, whichever one you want to pick, not even be allowed to be present in these stores. Because I have seen parents take 10 and 12-year-old children into these stores, and that sets a really bad example. We had a situation that you guys got after me about, which was really bad, I thought, in which the sheriff had some information that had to do with what you can buy in these vape shops. You can buy liquid butane, which you can use to concentrate marijuana, and the effects of that are horrible. And again, I think we did the right thing supporting that law, but I think we cut ourselves short when we allowed children to be taken into places where tobacco is sold. And the reason was given, well, you won't be able to go buy groceries anymore because they sell tobacco in grocery stores. Well, so what? We regulate liquor of certain kinds out of grocery stores. So, we're just playing patty cake with this problem. We got to get serious with it.
That early exposure is really detrimental to a child's perspective on substance use.
The way you explained it, I thought somebody was going in there at, 14 or 15 years old, going to the cash register buying it themselves.
Sir, that is my understanding.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you very much for your report. Okay, we're down to the public comment section, and the first speaker is Travis.
Commissioners,
Good evening.
my name is Travis Martin. Leaders like Mr. Kurt Ryan and Cliff Williams, amongst others, have shown true leadership concerning Aurora. Great things and opportunities are taking place. Aurora is coming back. S.W. Snowden is a favorable contributor for Aurora's success. Nutrien, one of the largest taxpayers for Beaufort County, is 6 miles from the school. Keeping S.W. Snowden open and the positive things happening in Aurora will draw families to the area, which will benefit needed trade-skilled personnel for Nutrien. Mr. Steve Bonner recently wrote a letter concerning Aurora and S.W. Snowden, and part of it reads as follows. The county commissioners have a responsibility to the citizens of the whole county, including Aurora, Richland Township citizens and students. Snowden is another pillar supporting Aurora. The removal of Snowden is another step closer to lower property values, less tax revenue, and less financial support for infrastructure, like town road maintenance, water, and sewer services. Once the town folds, it will unincorporate, no longer be a separate town, but another crossroad community, and the county will inherit responsibility of the support and maintenance of all the public services. Aurora, Richland Township contributes significantly to the county's economy. While enduring the challenges of remoteness and industry, the board has a duty to serve all of Beaufort County, including this region. This is a moment to lead not by cutting, but by reimagining what's possible. I urge you to oppose the closure and help pursue real creative solutions that preserve Snowden. Protecting the children, honor the future of Aurora while improving education for innovation. I want to thank Mr. Bonner for his due diligence. In North Carolina, county commissioners can provide funds to prevent the closing of a public school. They are responsible for providing funding for public school facilities and can allocate funds to school districts to supplement operating budgets. Example is that y'all had a majority vote to spend $10 million Beaufort County taxpayers' dollars to go towards building a school here in Washington. Mr. Matthew Cheeseman says it will take $1.7 million to keep S.W. Snowden School open. And we don't know if that's exaggerated or not because you voted against an audit. But still, it's $1.7 million. So I would, if one of the commissioners would make a motion to provide the school with this amount of money, I would hope that one of you four would vote with Commissioners Hood, Richardson, Stan Deffridge, and Tandy Dunn to keep this S.W. Snowden School open. Thank you.
Thank you. Cliff?
Well, Travis did an excellent job. In fact, you took the words right out of my mouth for the most part, so it's probably going to cut my speech short. But anyway, there's so many things wrong about closing this school. I can't even get into all of it. But what I can tell you is what the Beaufort County School Board done is illegal. State of North Carolina, there are certain procedures that you have to follow to close the school. And not the first one has been followed. They have not applied, they've not even applied for any grant money to fund the school or get new things that it needs. This board has been so good to our community. We've worked great together, and I want to continue to work good together. But taking that school down is like trying to drive a nail in the coffin for us. Just when we're beginning to start, everything's getting ready to take off. 19th, we're going to have the grand opening for the industrial park and the community college. A lot of new things are happening, and it's going to be like the domino effect when it does. I need y'all to save that school for the town of Aurora and Richland Township. It's almost heart-wrenching. It's that important to us. For the town of Aurora and Richland Township, we won't forget this. We need your support on this. Don't let this happen to us. I don't think I could say much more than this without being too emotional about it, but I do appreciate everything that you have done for the town of Aurora and Richland Township. But right now, we need your support. Please stay with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're down to the public hearing on the budget. Brian, do you want me to take a motion to go in first? Or you? Okay. All right. Need a motion to go into the public hearing on the budget.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay. All those in favor of going into the public hearing on the budget, raise your right hand. Okay, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just tee it up just a little bit. So this is the opportunity for the public to speak on the proposed budget. North Carolina General Statute, Local Budget and Fiscal Control Act require that there be at least one public hearing on the budget before it is adopted. The recommended budget was presented to the board on May the 12th. You held workshops on the 15th, the 20th, the 22nd, and the 27th. Your public hearing is tonight. To date, there have been some changes to the manager's recommended budget. I'll briefly hit those, and I think there's some additional, at least at the last budget session, there were some additional comments about maybe some additional things. But to date, there's been, to the general fund, there's been an adjustment in school capital funding, where you reduce the school capital funding by $75,383 and move that funding to school current expense. So there's no change with that. You were just moving from one to the other. You did approve the EMS employee training program at $37,500. You increased part-time pay, or you provided essentially a COLA to BHM library part-time staff in an amount of $3,250. You increased the election director's salary by $14,944, and then you reduced agape funding by $25,000. In the solid waste fund, you adopted moving the enforcement officer, the litter enforcement officer, from a part-time position to a full-time position based on some additional changes that are coming with that. That was a total of $51,953. And then you also adopted holding a second household hazardous waste collection event in the amount of $20,000, so you'll have two each year. This is an enterprise fund, so it has to be balanced within itself. So the board adjusted the solid waste fee to $196, so that balances out for a total of $74,148. And then in the water fund, which is also an enterprise fund, there were no changes made to that at this time. So that's where you stand as of right now, and this would be the opportunity for the public to speak and for you to receive comment from them on the proposed budget.
We did not receive anybody prior to the meeting that asked to speak, but I will open the door if there's someone here that wants to speak on the budget. Okay, hearing none. Got a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, raise your right hand. Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, we're in a position where we can do one or two things. We can continue to discuss the budget, any changes, or we can postpone that and have another meeting on next Monday night, which would be the 9th. That's already on the calendar. So I'm looking for some kind of feel from, I personally would like to see us go ahead and continue and try to see if we can pass the budget. But if we're not there, we'll just have to wait until Monday night.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I motion that we wait till Monday night next week and see if we can come up with some ideas about what to do about Snowden
Okay.
and see what we can do about cutting some of this waste, fraud, and abuse we got in this budget.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any other comments? All those in favor of waiting until next Monday night, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, gentlemen. We did have some discussion and on the 401k at our last workshop, and I asked the staff if they would take another look at the budget to see if there was any possibility that we could come up with a plan to incorporate the 401k. So I don't know, Anita, whether you or Brian wants to make that presentation.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to talk about 401k. So understanding that you didn't want to do any kind of adjustment to the tax rate, we wanted to be revenue neutral. Went through and took another look to see if we could find a way to pay for that without a tax increase. And first of all, we estimated that the 401k cost to the general fund would be about $532,000. And I told you that would be a worst case scenario because that was assuming every county employee would participate at the highest maximum level. So we actually went back and looked at what employees are contributing now, made some assumptions. We were also able to go back and look at health and DSS where there would be some reimbursements back from the state for about 50 to 60% of the share that the county pays for the 401k for them. So that made up a little bit of the funds. And then the recommendation that we came up with to pay for the rest would be there is an interfund loan that the county did back in fiscal year 2017-2018 where the general fund didn't have quite the robust amount of fund balance that we have now, so we had many maintenance projects that were needed within the county, a lot of roofing projects that needed to be done back then, and so what we did was we did a loan from the Healthcare Capital Reserve Fund to the general fund in the amount of $3.5 million to accomplish those building repairs that needed to be made. That was a 10-year loan at the going interest rate, borrowing rate at the time. So we've paid on that loan now for about seven years. So what we're recommending is that we go ahead and retire that debt. We use $1,034,538 of our general fund balance and go ahead and pay off the remaining balance of that loan. And what that will do is it will eliminate that recurring monthly payment that we've been making. And that'll go away, and we won't have to budget that for next year. So that amounted to $371,540 paying off that loan. We save that amount of debt service annually if we do that. So that's the way we propose to pay for that. Is it's basically three different things: paying off that loan and doing away with that monthly payment, freeing up that money in our budget. Also, the reimbursements that we get back from the state for the DSS and health piece, and using a small amount of contingency that we had budgeted will fund the full amount of the 401k expansion.
Questions?
I make a motion to approve.
Well, let me ask a question before we get into motions.
Okay.
How much is the salary increase for county employees this year?
There's a 3% COLA in the budget.
So 3%, that comes to how many dollars?
Just 1 minute, I can look it up. I believe it's around 700,000.
Okay, so the county employees are getting a $700,000 salary increase, and now we're asking for another $500,000 salary increase is really what it comes down to. As a match, and it's true that in a 401k, the employee can put more than the percentage that the county matches in that. He can actually put more than that, so he so desire, for his retirement. And switching these funds around, we're back into the same kind of a game that we were in when we sat here and were told that the school was going to pay for $500,000 for the 4 acres that they bought from the city, and then we found out, gee, the superintendent's in here telling, y'all paid for all of it, gotcha. So that's really what happened. Now, you can move the numbers around all you want to, but you're playing a mill hand game right now with the budget, and I'm not going to support this because we're already paying our employees well, and we're already giving a pretty good salary increase to them. We don't need to be increasing the budget by this amount because the net effect is we're increasing the budget by $500,000 regardless of what you do. You play those magic numbers all you want to, and you probably need to go over with the school superintendent and help him with his bookkeeping because that's the way he does it too. So I can't support this.
Other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and run this up flagpole right now. We've heard it's going to take $1,700,000 to keep snow.
We're sticking with, this is the one that's,
We're a different
subject right now.
Different subject.
Different, all right, we'll talk about it later.
We'll come back. We'll come back. Okay, you made a motion?
I'll second.
And got a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right, Stan?
Yeah, I would like to enter this campaign, giving extra money to the school administration to administer some way to keep Snowden open. We know they can do it. Right now we've got a figure of $1,700,000. I think it's a false number. I think they haven't even looked at all at how to keep that school open. It was their desire to close it from the very beginning. Just the idea, and we heard the superintendent tell us that it's going to take 22 teachers to educate 122 students. That just doesn't sound right. The math, I don't care what the state says you have to do, the math just doesn't work at all. It comes down to about 6 teachers per student. And I know there's ways you could cut some teachers. You could figure some other things, a lot of things you can do. You're going to have to bus those children up and down the highway. What I've heard is some kids are going to have to be riding 79 minutes in one direction per day. That's not right. That's no way to raise children in this county. So I would submit to you, all shell games aside, we submit, we offer the school $300,000 extra. And if they don't go along with it, we take that $300,000 away from their total amount. But I think it's incumbent upon this board to keep the school, that school open if we can help in any way. Now, we know that they don't manage very well at the school system. We've seen their administration costs rise higher and higher and higher and higher. They've got so many people doing so much, and we're so proud of them, but it just keeps costing more and more and more money. So I think if you give them an incentive, maybe they will do the right thing. Maybe they'll keep Snowden open. Maybe I'm just throwing dice at the wall and hoping it comes up 6s and 7s. But I'm just hoping that this might work. So I submit to you that we offer $300,000 to the school system, keep Snowden open. And if they won't do it, we take $300,000 away from what they've been guaranteed in this budget as a disincentive.
Well, I second that motion, but let me clarify a little bit the reason why this is the number is $300,000. Because the superintendent says $1.76 million, $1,700,000 is what the savings is from closing the school. That is a false statement because $1.44 million of that is paid by the state for the teachers. And the teachers are going to go with the students. So that's not a savings at all. So if you take the total cost of operating the school for a year, $1.76 million, and you subtract the teacher pay from it, you come up with about $300,000. Well, that's being generous because you still, to be crude about it, you still have to buy toilet paper. Doesn't matter where that student is, you still have to buy toilet paper. So there's certain expenses that are not going to go away with moving the students. So the saving is well less than $300,000. And if you go on into this a little bit further, the amount of money that it's going to cost to buy at least 4 new buses to haul students from Aurora to Chocowinity has never been addressed by the school board. That goes against that savings. And the minimum cost that you're going to get away with is $150,000 a year for the cost of transporting the students. So now we're down to $150,000 is going to be the real savings. And there's an additional cost at Chocowinity that they won't talk about. But they're going to have to do some improvements and change some things in order to take these students into the Chocowinity school system. The capacity is not there to handle them. Yes, the superintendent came before us and used some mealy-mouthed words that everything was going to be fine at Chocowinity. But that's not the case because he says in this report right here that he's using as his Bible for the closing of Chocowinity, which is a terribly flawed, disingenuous report, that there are not adequate facilities at Chocowinity. It's said in a sentence in this report. So the idea that we're going to save money by closing Chocowinity is totally false. And the reason for closing Chocowinity is a whole other reason that has to do with the inability of the school board to manage a school system, because that's their lowest performing school. And this school can be made into a high performing school, especially if the area, the community of Snowden will step in and help with these students. Their grades are going to come right up through the ceiling. There are stories I have been told by a very close relative of the former principal at Snowden that she was bringing up the grade level at Snowden. Those students were improving. And guess what happened? Cheeseman moved her at the end of her best year to another job because to keep her from getting credit for those improvements. So you've got a lot of games that are being played here. Travis Martin is right when he says we as commissioners have an obligation to the community. We have an obligation to the whole county, not just one little part of the county, to see to it that prosperity and a decent schooling conditions are there. That's our job. Now, I know there are plenty of people up here who try to tell you, oh, commissioners don't have anything to do with that. Guess what? We tax that money. We take it from you with the police power of the state, and we give it to the school system. He who has the gold makes the rules. But this board has not been willing to accept that fact. A mere the offer that Commissioner Deatherage just made of $300,000 will keep the Snowden School open. But even better than that goes the commitment by this board that school is going to stay open, because it's been suffering because the school puts the word out in the community. We don't know how long this school is going to be open. We're trying to close this school, blah, 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 blah. It sends a strong signal for the future of the S.W. Snowden School. And I'm going to hold the community responsible for stepping up and supporting that school and teaching those students so that they can become a lot better qualified than what they are. So there is logic behind the $300,000 that Commissioner Deatherage has presented. That's all that's needed to keep this school open. And the superintendent can bring us all of the phony bookkeeping that he wants to bring us, and it's not going to fly. It's simply not there. So I heartily support the $300,000 offer, and key to that $300,000 is a part of our budget ordinance is that the Snowden School will stay open.
Other comments? Yes, Brian?
So, Mr. Chairman, just for the boards, to bring the board back up and the mechanics of funding the school system. So you can provide additional funding to the school system. You absolutely can do that. You can even drive that funding down to the point of purpose and function. Purpose and function is the lowest level you can go as purpose and function would be like to teachers for teaching. There's a list of purpose and function codes that you're allowed to fund specifically, but that's as low as you can go. You couldn't designate funds specifically for Snowden. You couldn't designate them for a particular school. You would have to give it to the school system, and they would then, it goes to the entire district. You would they would essentially have to agree. I just don't know that, and the county attorney may be able to speak to that. I'm not sure you can condition your money to them on an action by them. They are the policy setting board for that school system. You fund them. You could ask them to do certain things with the money, but they're not under an obligation to do what you ask them to do. So I just want the board to be clear on that. That's the way school funding is, and just don't want there to be any misconception about what can and can't be done. And if you give them money in the budget, you cannot take that money back. The only way you can take that money back is that if they agree to give it back, or if you reduce the county budget as well, your own budget as well. So it's pretty clear in the statutes how that works.
I'd like to say one thing, speak to that. It's also, Hood, you gave an eloquent presentation as to why the shell game is against Snowden closing with the school system. They want to close it, and we should, as commissioners, want to hold their feet to the fire and keep it open. But we can make that money contingent if we meet next Monday night, because they're going to meet Tuesday night, tomorrow night, and decide if they're going to close that school or not. If we waive the carrot of $300,000 to keep the school open, and maybe some of those people can stay elected on that board. Who knows? I mean, I can't imagine that the people around Washington and on the north side of the river want to close that school in Snowden, because it's going to present a whole another set of problems, as Hood so eloquently spoke to. So I think we wait till next Monday night, and then we vote on the final budget with that $300,000 piece given to them or taken away.
Well,
Did you second the motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
The manager's right and the manager's wrong. This board can make all of the offers it wants to in the budget ordinance. Whether those offers are taken or not is not up to us. We can put all the conditional money out there that we want to put out there. And he's right from this standpoint, is they don't have to take it. They don't have to use the money. If they don't keep Snowden open, they don't get the money. So to sit here and say that we can't put conditional money in a budget ordinance, because all money is conditional for that matter. Every dime that we give, that we appropriate to anybody is conditional on them using it properly the way we say to use it. So we can offer them the money. We can put it in the budget as a $300,000 that they don't get unless Snowden stays open. And we can do that. That is lawful. There is nothing in the law that says that we can't do that. The law does say that we can appropriate down to purpose and function certain lines in the budget. But it also doesn't say that we can't negotiate and bargain with the school board. I remind you of the last famous lawsuit that those people tried about 15 years ago. They got burnt on it really bad. They lost at every level so fast it made their head swim. And the reason that they lost was not because this board laid the money down and said, there it is, take it or leave it at the end of that. The reason they lost was we were negotiating with them, and they weren't negotiating in good faith. So to sit here and say that we can't do this is totally wrong. Show me in the law where it says we are prohibited from making any offer in the county budget, appropriating any funds in the county budget for anybody based on the condition of use. That is just crazy.
Commissioner Richardson, I didn't say you couldn't do that. I just said that once the money goes in the budget, you can't pull it back. You can't make them. Exactly what you just said. You can't make them do it. They can do it if they want to, but they don't have to. So.
But they don't get the money if they don't do it. Every dollar that we appropriate is a conditioned use.
No, sir.
And we can
No,
do that.
No, sir.
Well,
Once you adopt the budget ordinance, the law is really clear. It's like the sheriff's office and the school system. Once the money goes over, you can't pull it back unless there's certain conditions are met. And that is, they have to agree to give it back to you, or there has to be a general reduction in the entire budget. So that is...
I don't disagree with you, but we're talking about two different things. We're talking about appropriating money based on a condition of use. The $18 or $17 million that we give the school system right now is conditioned on them keeping these 10 or 12 schools open. All we're saying is we're appropriating $300,000. If the Snowden school stays open, it's in your budget. And in order for you to get this money, you have to keep the Snowden school open. And there's nothing in the law that says that you can't do that. Nothing.
Commissioner Richardson, all due respect, the Board of Commissioners is not the policy-setting board for the school system. There's an elected board that uses that money as they choose. They could take all that money and send it to one school. The money this board sends over is money to support the school system. They get to choose how they support the school system with it.
Well, again, with all due respect, let me put it this way. We are required by the statutes to appropriate the money to maintain the physical plants of the school. Okay, what else does the money that we appropriate go for?
There's a whole list. I mean, they go to help support additional teachers, bus drivers. There's a whole list of things in the statute, in the Budget and Fiscal Control Act.
Not the statute, but there's a whole lot of things in the budget that they use that money for that is beyond what the statute calls for. Because if we only had to appropriate what the statute calls for, they'd get about half of what they're getting now.
You can certainly cut their budget if you want to.
No, I'm not saying cut their budget. What I'm saying to you is that there is nothing that keeps us from, every dime that's appropriated is based upon a condition of use. Now, the big phony game that these commissioners have played for as long as I've been on this board is with the school budget is drop a lump sum and run. Let them do whatever they want to with it. And that has led to a lot of excesses and a lot of problems. We can appropriate down to purpose and function. We haven't even tried to do that. There's not a commissioner sitting up here that can tell you how that money is used. Any one of them that tries to is not telling the truth. Every dime that's appropriated for the schools is appropriated conditioned on use.
Does anyone else want to go before I speak? Okay. I want to remind the commissioners, in this budget, we moved $75,000 from capital to operating. When we did that, based on their projections of the number of students, that's going to be $3,048 per student. Last year it was $2,943. That's an increase of 3.6%, regardless of what schools are open and what schools are closed. Just so keep that in mind, up 3.6%. I had a call today, talked to one of the school board members, and I said, look, I'm not willing to give you any additional money, but if you can keep Aurora open with the funds that we're giving you, which is equivalent of a 3.6% increase, go for it. I mean, that's their business. They're elected officials, and that's the funds we've offered them. If you remember, starting about 4 years ago, I was the one that advocated that we needed to start looking at how much we were giving the school system on a per student basis, because the enrollment was sliding, going south. And so we've been doing that, and for the last 5 years we've averaged a little over 3% per year per student for local funds. And and in addition to that, we're in the top 25%. Listen, I'll say it again, the top 25% is the amount of money that goes there. What has happened is that because of the COVID money that came into the system, they're like a lot of people. They added staff, they added people, and at the same time, the enrollments continued to go down. And so, it's high cost. In the business world, if you had a business that costs $10,000 more per customer than the average for the entire county or 14 locations, you would shut it down. Now, I'm not voting to shut the school down, but I'm just saying if I was in that position, if I had that authority, all I can tell you is that from a funding standpoint, we can't dump money in and fill when state money disappears. We just can't do that. Now, just to compare, Bath School, you know what the average cost is? $9,000. Now, you can say...
Mr. Chairman, I challenge that. That's school board accounting, and I already know how that works. That's not right.
Well, you challenge it. I mean, you don't believe in anybody's numbers except Hood Richardson, so I get that.
I believe in the audited numbers. I don't believe in the numbers that somebody walks in and hands me. And by the way, your thing was unethical when you put that up there, because you had information that this board should have had, and you sprung it on the board at the last minute without any notice to the board. That's an ethics problem.
No, it's not an ethics problem. It's my right to point out numbers that I see that we need to be looking at as it relates to funding.
You got those numbers consorting in the back room with the superintendent.
Well, you can keep accusing me of that, Hood Richardson, but you don't have any proof of that.
Well, did they come from heaven?
You don't have any proof of that.
Did God hit you with those numbers?
I tell you what, you went to Snowden and you got the handout, and the handout is what somebody gave me, is where I got the numbers from. So that tells me you've not reviewed the numbers.
And that's part of this phony report that I'm going to talk some more about tonight. Those diagrams are in this false, phony report that you refused to get an audit for to see whether people were telling the truth.
All right, we got a question. Call for a question. So, all those in favor of the motion, you want to repeat it one more time?
Motion is to give conditional monies of $300,000 extra to the school system to keep Snowden open. And if we need to wait until next Monday to finish this budget, to completely ratify this budget, we can do so. They will vote Tuesday night.
And what about the part about taking away $300,000?
We're not taking away $300,000. That's not in the motion.
Well, it wasn't original.
Yeah, that was put in as a disincentive, but I can amend that original motion if Hood, would you
I'll
second that?
second. Yeah.
Okay. All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Thank you. Now, any other additions
I have a motion.
as it relates to the budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what do you think I'm gonna talk about? What's going on down on the river? What are we in here for, Mr. Chairman?
No, I mean,
It relates to the budget.
okay,
Yeah.
plus or minus.
It relates to the budget ordinance.
Okay.
I move that we reduce taxes 10% for the people for this coming year, and that 10% come out of the 20-something million dollars that we have floating around in y'all's private slush fund.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor of the motion?
Discussion.
Huh?
Yes, discussion. Let's discuss.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, Commissioner Richardson, it's a one-time thing. It's a one-year thing. And I appreciate your motion. I agree the taxpayers need relief. We're in a revaluation year. That's going to make a difference. It will show to the taxpayers of Beaufort County that we actually understand and we care. We've got the money. We don't need to hold it. Hood said it many times, we can tax as much as we want. We can tax them any time we want. But when you give politicians and bureaucrats too much money, which we've done here in Beaufort County, we make bad decisions. And we're going to be talking about further and further into this over the next year. So I submit to all of you this is a wise thing for us to do right now.
Yeah, I want to point out this board gave more than $4 million for broadband, wherever that goes, whoever got help with that. We gave that money away. That doesn't show up in the budget because it was parked over in a special fund. It doesn't show up in increased spending. Yet and still, we can put $400 million into an Obama program, but we can't give a 10% tax reduction to the people of Beaufort County when we have the money sitting there when we're already overtaxing them, as has been shown by the way that all of these funds get manipulated so we can do whatever we want to do. So, yes, let the taxpayers have their money back.
Okay. Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right. I'd like to see us reconsider in the budget. We had two requests from, see if I can find it, from emergency management. They were reclassification for the coordinator. That was a reclass from 70 to 74, and that dollar amount was $7,163. And the second one was the emergency management specialist. That was a reclassification from 64, grade 64 to a 66, and that dollar amount was $5,355. And I would make a motion for us to add that to the budget.
Second.
We have a second.
I second.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay.
I can't hear where the money's coming from.
Taxpayers.
And the general funds, or I'm fine with it coming from the general fund. Or
About the fund balance?
the GD.
No, it's the fund balance. We're doing a budget for the general fund. We're changing the general fund. What he's saying is, where's the money coming from? The fund balance is the only place it can come from unless you raise taxes.
That's true.
I mean, when you raise spending, eventually you're going to raise taxes. That's just the way it works.
Even with 300,000.
Yeah, keep Snowden open. Absolutely. I think it's a wise thing to do because you're helping the school board think. And they have a hard time doing that on a regular basis.
Okay.
Vote on the employees, we didn't, did we ever vote on that?
Yeah.
We added that.
Y'all want to give us a break, and y'all take a break, take a 5-minute break, and let us work through this, see if we can figure something out.
Okay. All right, we'll take a break. Just 5 minutes. Okay,
So, Mr. Chairman, the finance officer and I have gone through it. I think what our recommendation to the board would be that you pull that from fund balance like you did the other one, and then we'll deal with it as we get into the next year's budget.
okay, with that in mind, if we're going to have to pull it from the fund balance, I'm just going to pull that from adding it to the budget, if I'm my second.
I'll pull the second.
Okay, so we'll pull that. Any other changes? Okay. Do we have proper documentation for us to vote on the budget now, Brian, or do we need to take a break?
If you'll give Anita 5 minutes or so, she does need to update an ordinance.
Okay. All right, yeah.
Viewing the numbers and the budget ordinance that you have, I know there was some in your,
Look at Tandy.
Yeah, since it was his doings.
Oh, he had gone to the men's room when I came in here.
Okay. We'll wait just a minute, Brian.
Here comes Brian. He's a lot quieter than Stan.
Okay, Brian.
all right, so in your discussion recently about the funding for this proposal that you made, so there's some concern, I think, what you said about pulling out of fund balance like you did the director's piece. You could go in, you currently have a service expansion for training in emergency services that the board approved funding at 37.5. If the board said, we want to move forward with this, you could reduce that 37.5 by the 12.518 that you need. That would reduce the program, the training program to 24.982, and there would be no change in the budget. And it wouldn't impact our budget ordinance because it's all in the Emergency Services Department under Public Safety. So the budget ordinance you have now would still be the same, and you could just say reduce the expansion, the training piece to offset that. So it would be a net zero. Does that make sense to the board?
Yeah, well, let me see if the person that's second would agree.
I agree.
Okay. I'll make that motion that the funds come from reducing the 37.5 down to
24.892.
892. Yeah, and it's the same dollars that we agreed on earlier. Okay.
24.982, excuse me.
24,982. Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we've got this is the updated version that you just put here in front of us. Any comments, Brian or Anita, before?
Yeah, I'll just point out that this first sheet you have here, that what we're going to call the 25-26 budget ordinance, it does exclude the allocation to BHM Library, Green Lamp, and Boys and Girls Club, because Commissioner Booth serves on the Boys and Girls Club board board, and Commissioner Langley serves on the BHM and Greenland boards.
Okay.
So they have to be voted on separately.
All
How
right.
did the BHM?
Commissioner Langley's on that board.
Okay, gotcha, I got you.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the 25-26 budget ordinance as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
You want to go?
You go first, Lee.
Look, I'm not going to vote for this budget again, simply because a lot of money is being wasted that doesn't show up. We've been moving money out of the fund balance and putting it in special funds and then giving it to Obama-era projects like broadband, which really, I doubt if there's a single person in this county who'll stand up and say, I benefited from that $4 million that was wasted. And putting broadband in places where nobody lives is really not a good idea. I mean, if people want broadband, there'll be enough people sign up for it that the telephone company will rush out there and put you a line in and hook you up right away and start collecting your money. This is a great example of socialism. There's also a lot of fluff in this budget. It has not been given good consideration. It's also true that the county has a lot of money. We're spending a lot of money. We have a lot of money in the fund balance, and there's absolutely no reason not to give some of this money back to the people of Beaufort County. I feel for the families out there with children today, and I just went to the grocery store this weekend, and I feel for those families. And I think about when I was raising a family, I literally had no money, period. Inflation like this would have been a horrible thing. So I can't vote for a budget that has all of this fluff in it and the giveaways and over $1 million in charitable contributions, and that's all that they are. We don't follow up on these things. We just dump the money and run. And the county has had too many problems with fraud. And I cite the Chocowinity deal, where nobody knows how much money was stolen because nobody will tell the commissioners how much money was stolen. And the latest cute thing they've said is, well, we had an insurance policy, so we're going to get paid. That is a sorry way to look at dishonesty. So I am not going to vote for this budget for all of those reasons and a lot more that I'll probably enumerate later on.
Anyone else?
I'll go.
Stan?
Yeah, I concur. I'm not going to vote for this budget as well. I'm with you, Hood. I voted with you, so did Tandy. The taxpayers deserve their money back. Also, if we could go through all of next month and take a good hard look, we could cut from this budget. There's fluff in here, so it said, and we could help keep Snowden open. Now, the corrupt bargain has been struck. Snowden's going to be closed. I mean, I think if we had done something tonight, we might have made a difference. At least we would have known. We would have tried. Three of us wanted to try and do something for you guys. I don't know if you're in on the corrupt bargain or not, but you decided not to. The whole idea of closing schools, community schools, I do not favor it. You put kids on a bus, you run them up and down the highway, you bring them into a large mega school, you're able to centrally control their minds. And that's not what we do with children. We educate them. We have trouble in this nation in educating children. That's why we don't act smarter as a nation. And we have got to change the way we perceive how children are educated in this nation. And putting them all in one school, coming up with some plan that they should learn, and then doing it in such a way that parents are living 30 miles away from that school and are having harder and harder time negotiating with the teachers of how to help raise their children. Because that's what schools are supposed to do. You say they're not, they are. They got the kids a lot of the time during the day, and they are tasked with helping to raise children. I know I got a lot of things I learned going to school, and I didn't have to go but 4 or 5 blocks walking to the school I went to. That's back in the day before busing. Now you just bus them 79 minutes one direction. Makes no sense. And so I'm going to vote against giving any succor to any group that would do such. That would be the school board.
Anyone else?
Mine's just a repeat from last year. You know, this is the second term of being a commissioner, but I've been to many budget, public comments on the budget. I've been over to the community college, and I've been to the courthouse where the line was out the door, people complaining. So the thing I look for is who comes to complain about the budget during the public hearing. And today we had 0. So I'm okay with the budget the way it is, and I will be voting for it. Thanks.
All right, my comment, when we did the revaluation this year, I was having several calls, several emails, several text messages, and I assured everybody that I would support a revenue-neutral budget. And that's exactly what this budget is. And I have told 3 of the school board members when they called me individually, that's where I stood at, and that's where my vote's being cast at tonight. This budget is less than a 2% increase, and the inflation rate is above that. So I think we've done a good job of managing it. I just want to remind people once again that the fund balance that we have is right at the 35%. And that was a board policy set with the recommendation of the former manager and chief financial officer. And it's just good policy. It's good policy. It is not good policy to give somebody $4 million and then the next year turn around and ask for it back. I mean, as a business person dealing with people when it comes time to raise prices on their goods or their rates, most people say they'd like to be able to budget with things going up on a steady basis. You know, not this up and down stuff that some of our commissioners talk about and think it's a great idea. Politically, it's a great idea. But from a business perspective, it's not a great idea. So I'm going to support this budget. I think the staff has done an excellent job of pulling it together, and I think the people in each one of the departments have done an excellent job. When you look at the kind of business environment we live in, I think that we have tried to make this a solid budget and as conservative as possible. So, anyone else with a comment?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I want to thank our staff for the job that they've done. I mean, you heard tonight there's a lot of fluff, but business, everything else has got higher, and the employees deserve everything that they got. Broadband is just as important to people all around, and I think that $4 million was from ARPA money. It wasn't something that we just dug out of the general fund. So I like when you put it out there, I like you put the truth out there to tell you how it is. We did not touch the general fund 1 penny for broadband. Broadband, I think they already started on the south side and all over the county. So somebody's going to benefit from it. And thank you for the job you've done, and hope we have a successful year. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'll just say this very briefly. I had a couple from down Campbell's Creek approach me when I was seeking re-election last year, and they said, well, I'm going to vote for you for one reason. You voted for broadband. Do you know how you have set us free down on the south side? And see, so now we have people saying that nobody wants to acknowledge that broadband has done anything for them. Well, I'm here to testify that yes, there are folks who are so happy to have broadband on the south side of the river, and I don't see a lot of fraud and abuse in this budget. So I think it's a good budget, and I'm ready to move forward with it.
Okay.
You forgot about waste, fraud, and abuse. Right. Well, I'd also like to answer Randy. Randy, you're right. People don't come and complain anymore. You know why? They give up.
They've given up.
They've given up. They've had years and years of this, been told one thing, and then people get up here and govern another way. They don't know what to do.
When you're talking about
And we haven't had, we've never had a conservative majority on this board.
Well,
We got closer this year, but we're not there yet.
I think most people are happy when you tell them that they're not going to have a tax increase. You know, in the last 5 years, have we had a tax increase?
They're a lot happier if they get a tax decrease, Frank.
I disagree with you. You got a lot of people in this county that disagree. I get questions all the time. They'll go to Greenville and go to a sporting event. Their kids will go there and play ball, and then they'll come back and they'll say, Frankie, why don't we have something like that? And I say, it costs money, and we're trying to be conservative. We're trying to keep the tax rate conservative. I mean, you know, right now with the revaluation we got, if we had the right people on this board, we could have a lot of nice parks, because 1 penny increase would generate $1 million, and we could add to that. But I don't think that we have full votes that would do it, and that's what it takes. So anyway, all those in favor of the 2025 budget ordinance, passing that, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, now we need a separate vote. You want to take the Boys and Girls Club first? All right. Yeah, we need to recuse, excuse, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you want to step outside the door?
I'm fine sitting in here.
You do?
Do we make a motion to, okay, I make
So-
a motion that we recuse or excuse.
Yeah, recuse, I guess. is
Recuse that- okay.
Excuse. Huh?
The,
Like putting you to sleep.
Commissioner Booth.
All right, I'll second that. All those in favor of not allowing him to vote on this one, let's put it that way, raise your right hand. Okay. The recommended adjustment, no, not the recommended adjustment, the, okay,
This is a budget amendment that would put the Boys and Girls Club funding in at 26,666.
okay, 26,666.
It's the same thing they got last year.
Yep,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Let it not be said that I didn't vote for the budget.
Portions of it. See, you're getting better.
Amen. Those opposed?
Yep. There's a reason.
Okay, now we'll go to the next one.
You have to bring me back.
Oh,
No, that only applied to that one vote.
Yeah. What do you mean? You're not having surgery.
No, good.
Not bringing you back. Okay, this involves, well, Jerry, we need to
Excuse me.
excuse. Motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, close your eyes.
You counting the team?
Yeah. This involves the BHM library budget, $232,089, and the Greenland, $15,000 budget. Need a motion to, got a motion to approve. Is there a second? Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a contract with these groups, these entities for oversight.
We have,
Brian?
we have a long-standing contract with the BHM Library, yes.
We do? Do we have one with Greenlight? Greenland?
Not sure we have a specific contract with them, though. But, I mean, we fund them as we do the others. They turn in their reports like the other agencies do, other outside agencies do.
Back in Sweet, when they were put in, there was a stipulation that when Greenland was first put into our budget, it was with the stipulation that every dime that we gave was spent here specifically in Beaufort County. And that's why when we were doing the expansion, she came and did a presentation of exactly where the money went.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor of the BHM library budget and the Greenland budget numbers, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Nay, the water and solid waste is in the budget ordinance? Okay. So we're good. We're good. Well, I would say take a break, but we've already had 2 breaks, so we'll keep trucking along. We don't have any legislative representatives here. We'll go down to items for consent. We've already pulled 1, item number 10. Does anyone want to pull any of the other items?
I'd like to pull the opioid spending resolution and the CDBG contract approval for $15,000.
Okay, so that's number 5 and number 9.
Yes.
Okay. All right, could I have a motion to approve the remaining?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the other 10 remaining items under consent. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can we do those things for consent rather than holding these people up?
Yes, absolutely. Why don't we just start with the first one, number 5, the opioid spending resolution, and that's on page 20.
Yeah, the only thing I want to say on this looks like we're extending a $300-something thousand and continuing a program down the road. And I think part of my question may have been answered by Tiffany Moore when she was up here, and that is we're going to have to do a reevaluation of the whole program and reconstitute the program by September of 26.
So the resolution that you see in front of you is basically just to extend until September 2026, by which, what Tiffany said, we have to do a reevaluation, like you said. The money that's coming over is, we're not adding any money. So originally, when you approved the $622,577, what we have to move forward to extend, because it ends right now, is the $365,960.
That's the remainder of the original.
That's the remainder of the original
amount.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
well, the only thing that I like 2 things. One, I would like for you to give us a couple of months' notice so the commissioners will have time to do some thinking about this, because I'm not sure, there may not be some better places to spend some of this money to fight drugs. And that's the whole purpose of the reevaluation. So
Yes.
Please don't come in here in September and say you've got to approve this today because here's the program, and we've decided we're going to extend it, because it's up to the commissioners to configure this program.
Yes, sir. So just like we did last time, where we invited commissioners and other community members to come out and express what they thought was going well, what we needed to see more of, that opportunity will still assist.
But that's the community involvement in it. It's the commissioners that make the ultimate decision.
Yes, but
What I'm
the
saying
commissioners
is-
also have that voice, is what I was saying.
Right,
if
to
you want
come
to
and
get ahead of time.
participate in that. But what I'm saying is let us know a couple of months at least ahead of time before December.
Of kind of what the community has said.
What the community has said and what, give us a heads up. Because I really want to take a look at this. I think there's some places that money could be better spent.
That's fine.
On this. And
Yes, sir.
one question that I have that involves this, the other question is, District 2 Recovery Court was asking us for $20,000, which I don't think they got. Is there any opportunity within this money to support them, because that is drugs? Can you find $20,000 in this to support them, and is that necessary?
So find, yes, I think what it's going to come down to is that AB, the way that they have it set up. If we decide to go one route, we might be more restricted than if we go the other, if that makes sense. Because A has certain things that we can select from, which they may or may not fall into.
Okay, in order to get you going with this, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to see if it'll get past the board that the commissioners ask to find the $20,000 that the recovery court asked for within this amount of money that we're talking about here. That's a motion.
Could I ask a question? But you said even if you got to find out whether those things work together, didn't you?
Yes, so we'll work together in the sense of the resolution in front of you with not changing any of the pathways that we've currently chosen. So with the direction that we've been given, if an additional pathway is chosen, that A or B would have to make sure that we fall into that.
And didn't Recovery Court get some money from JCPC recently?
I want to say yes, sir.
Yes.
I do not know how much though.
Bryant, yes.
So, Commissioner Richard, in our current budget, in your continuation budget, the Second Judicial District Recovery Court is funded at $15,000.
They got what they wanted.
No. They asked for even more.
Expansion. Oh.
They asked for even more.
Funded versus expansion.
Correct, yes, sir. They're funded at $15,000 because they came 2 years ago and asked for money. So we've kept them in the continuation at 15, but then this year they came in and asked for even more.
Right. Well, that's my motion, to fund that expansion.
Additional 20,000.
Additional, if you can find that. I think you said you can make it work, it's just that you're gonna have to balance programs, and that's not a problem.
Right, so when I say manage programs though, and it's really hard without it in front of you, the pathways that it has with A and B, like we would have to be very diligent to make sure that the other initiatives that we also wanted to include didn't supersede, or if the recovery superseded, so that we make sure we stay in the right pathway.
Well, and that's why we're leaving this magic up to you to work that out.
Yay.
If we vote, if the board votes to
Is that the
give
best
the
way,
additional
Brian, am I
funding to the
explaining the A and
recovery
B?
court.
Yeah, I think, so the motion is to go ahead and commit those funds out of this money?
No. He wants
Okay.
me to, basically, if I repeat and make sure I'm understanding, to find the 20,000 or how we would even go about even possibly looking at that. And that to me is digging into the A, B category to see if we can even do it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then come back to us and tell us,
Yay or
maybe at the
nay?
next meeting. Yeah. I think you can do it. That's a flexible program. The door wide open.
Well, I can do nothing more but report back and give you every answer they give me.
And I'm not so sure that there's not something mentioned about supporting a recovery court in the report that you have in here.
So yes, they do have the report.
So
Mhm.
it's workable.
It should fall in with the same pathway.
Well, one of the reasons I'm interested in recovery court is, of course, this recovery court's run by a judge, and these are people who are facing imminent prison time.
Mm-hmm.
Consequently, you've got their attention, and I don't think she would be asking for the money unless she needed it to be able to help get these people straightened out. So
If you go to the graduation,
You'll leave
there's
in
no
tears.
doubt. There's no doubt that it's a good program. I really think we need two motions. Would you agree? The motion that you got,
Can I ask the question before you make the motion?
well, the motion's already on the
Can I ask a
floor.
question
Yeah,
before we
yeah.
vote? From what, the new program, the only thing you're asking for now is the last quarter. So in September this year.
26,
September
2026.
26. Okay, I'm sorry. I got
No,
you.
it's okay.
yeah, it's over a year.
Yeah, it's a year, thankfully.
Can we do all of it in one motion? Okay. Since your motion's already on the floor, let's take a vote on it. All those in favor of Hood's motion, raise your right hand. Okay. Now, we need a motion to approve the spending resolution on the balance of $365,963 to September the 30th of 2026.
Yes, sir.
So moved.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one, DC, do you want to come up and,
We may not even need him up here for that, but that's fine, come on up. My only question is, we're gonna take $15,000 out of county funds, to get this program, CDBG thing going. Are we gonna be repaid that money out of CDBG funds, or is that part of our so-called match?
So that's the application process.
That's the application, but how are we gonna get our $15,000 back? Are we gonna ever get our $15,000 back? That's the question.
You can come up there. You can. We have Kevin from Insight here tonight who can answer whether or not that's a reimbursable.
wait a minute, if you ask me,
Yes, Chairman, may we allow Kevin to...
I got called down by one of the commissioners.
Okay, thank you. My apologies.
Yes, the administrative funds for the grant are capped at 10%, and you can use that for reimbursing the county for making the application. You could also use those funds to do another application in the upcoming year, so you can do it either way.
Okay, but we're gonna get our money back, the $15,000 that we front on this, either as a part of the match or as a direct repayment of our.
That's correct.
Okay, now I move that we approve this conditional on us getting our money back.
If I may just.
Yes.
For piece of clarity, that is if the application is awarded.
That's correct.
So.
And if it's not, we lose the 15,000.
That's correct.
Oh, all right. Well,
I just want that, I want to be transparent.
yeah.
So you got to call your politicians.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, we got a motion. Did we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we got a second now.
The motion is that we approve the item conditional on us recovering our funds from the, whatever funds we get from the grant.
We don't know that that's going to occur. If the grant, if it's approved and we get the grant, then it will be, but.
Right, that's another one of those conditions.
Yes, I understand.
You know, do you understand conditions? If we get the grant, we'll get our money back. If we don't get the grant, we won't get our money back. All money is dispersed based on a condition of, I'm gonna give you this money and you're gonna do this for me. Everything's a condition.
I'm just want the board to clearly understand that there's no guarantee that we're going to get a grant awarded on this. So it's kind of difficult to put a condition on it when you have to write the grant first. So you really can't say, I mean, they're not going to do this for free. So, I mean, essentially, if the board, I think the board needs to be clear that if you vote for that, then you're voting to kill this program, right?
No, it's a condition. We're putting up the money, and if we get the grant, we'll be able to repay ourselves from grant money.
Right.
If we don't get the grant, then we have expensed $15,000.
Correct, but if you condition spending the 15 on getting the grant, you can't do that because you don't know.
Not even condition it on that. Listen to the words.
Okay.
We approve the resolution as presented with the condition that if we get the grant, we get the grant, we will recover our money from the grant.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Anybody got a question of Hood? I mean, make sure that you understand it. I think everybody's got clear now.
Okay.
All right, do we have a second? Okay. All right, it's clear as mud now. All those in favor of the Insight Consulting Group contract being approved, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Stan, did you vote? Okay. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Well, DC, you might stay right up there. We got one more that was pulled. This was the mass notification contract approval. That's on page 42 for you gentlemen. And I believe you pulled it, didn't you?
Yeah, so we pulled that one because there were some changes in the contract that the county attorney had wanted some changes made in it. So Emergency Services didn't want you to vote on that under consent without you clearly understanding what the county attorney had made changes on.
Okay. Amanda?
There are several changes that will need to be made. They have presented essentially a proposal and their standard terminology along with that, but they also require a contract to be executed between the parties, which has not yet been provided. There were several provisions in the standard terms that we just can't consent to as a county entity, including like forum provisions and things like that. So once we're provided with that contract and I'm able to review, I'm sure it'll be brought back before the board.
Okay, so we're going to wait until the contract is written to come back. Is that?
I'm not sure if DC may need some guidance on if you all are agreeable to the terms that are presented. I saw there were two different proposals, a 2-year and a 5-year program. So he may be asking for some additional guidance from the board as far as that's concerned. But as it stands right now, we don't have the actual contract from the vendor.
So we're waiting on the actual contract in order to proceed.
Correct. This is their proposal and standard terms.
Okay.
So what do you want us to do, DC?
Well, I mean, let's wait for it, because there is some words that need to be changed, and I'm pretty sure all of y'all don't want if something happens, go to California.
No.
So that was one thing. There is the terms that we talked about. One was a 2-year term and a 5-year term. I think the 5-year term would be more advantageous for us. That way it locks in our rate a lot longer. And if there is a change, let's say on the 3rd or 4th year when they see a raise, like a raising going up, that would be notified earlier instead of just a 2-year and then get hit with a big splash kind of like we did on our last we did. So that's what I would, the 5-year sounds good. It's a long term and it locks us in and it gives us a low rate and it gives us a higher percentage off than just going.
Okay, so you'll bring it back?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, you stay right up there. We're down to the Community Block Development Grant, and this is a public hearing. So I need a motion to go into the public hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay, all those in favor of the public hearing on the Community Block Development Grant, raise your right hand. Okay.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. So the public hearing will provide an explanation and description of funding available under the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant, or the CDBG program, sponsored and administered by the North Carolina Department of Commerce, Rural Economic Development Division. The purpose of this public hearing is to obtain citizens' views, allow response from the public on proposed funding, and to answer any question posed by citizens. In general, CDBG activities must meet at least one national objective by benefiting low and moderate income persons, or preventing or eliminating slums or blight. Project activities must benefit at least 51% low and moderate income persons for an area-wide project benefit, and 100% low and moderate income persons for direct benefit. Low to moderate income households are defined as those households with income at 80% or less of the median income of the county. Area-wide benefit could include such activities that benefit communities, for example, neighborhood parks. Direct benefit includes activities that directly benefit individuals, for example, housing rehabilitation. The type of activities that can be funded with the CDBG funds in North Carolina are water and sewer infrastructure, neighborhood revitalization, and economic development projects, and administration of the above activities. Applications are anticipated to be submitted to the Rural Economic Development Division in the fall of 2025. Another public hearing will be held once specific project activities are identified and prior to the application submitted by Beaufort County. Chairman, this is the time where if you would like to open the floor for any comments.
Is there any comments from the public? Are we required to have 60 seconds? Or not? I was going to ask Stacy if he would stand up and sing. Okay. Okay, we got a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second? All right, we have a second. All those in favor of the closure, raise your right hand. Okay.
Also, Chairman, we would need a vote to proceed with the application process.
Got a motion and a second to proceed with the application. Question? Tandy?
DC, have y'all got some projects in mind for this grant already?
So some things have to be identified, and we can start, once the application gets approved, we can go ahead and find the demographics in the area that meet the 51%. So in my mind, I do have some ideas, but I'm debating on whether the criteria meets for the area. So it's really dependent on the area where it's determined 51% or less or greater.
Any other question?
When will you start having the public hearing for the people? Let them know that this is out there for them.
Can I have Kevin come up and explain some of that?
Please do.
So what was the question?
When will the public be notified that this program is in the county?
now that it's approved, we'll
It
prepare.
hasn't been approved yet.
Get the contract signed, and we will prepare applications for housing. DC has said he wanted to explore doing a two-part application, one part being some housing rehabilitation, and the other part being some economic development activities.
Okay.
So we'll prepare a housing application, and DC will work with probably your MS director to post it on your Facebook, social media, give it to local organizations that would make it available to those people in need that would be good applicants, and we would set a period to receive those applications.
Okay.
I would recommend we stay around 30 days. That's plenty of time to get them in and done. Then we'll verify them, and in the meantime, we'll be working together with DC and other county employees to determine what looks to be a good economic development activity.
You partially answered my question, but I'm gonna ask it another way.
You're right, I did not.
Yeah. Are you gonna open the office here?
We have talked about looking in this area, so we're exploring that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of proceeding with the application process, raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right, thank you. Chris,
Yes, sir.
we're down to the home elevation funding plan.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, back before you again with another funding opportunity, grant funding opportunity to elevate 8 additional houses in Beaufort County. These, as you recall in the past, elevation projects for us typically look 2 different ways. Some that are attributed directly to a storm, which are known as your HMGP, so the storm-related events, and then some that are FMA driven. And most of the time, your FMA type elevations require some type of homeowner contribution. Normally that's a match of about 10%. Your HMGP, which is related to this, and the disaster for that was actually Hurricane Isaias, is what we're before. Is that Isaias? I always say that wrong. Isaias, I'm saying that right? Yeah. Isaias, so this was related to those disaster recovery funds. It would be 100% funded using federal funds. What we're before you with now is we have received notification that our applications have been awarded for that, and we're here to execute the MOA between the county, the state, and the feds to receive that 1.4 million or 1.3 million so that we can continue on with those elevation projects.
Any questions of Chris? All right, entertain a motion that we move forward with passage of the memorandum of understanding for the recovery funds totaling $1,341,247.90.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could add one more thing, so there is another component to this agenda. It's changing the designated person in which the state and FEMA contacts related to these grants. In the past, we've utilized Ms. Anita as the primary point. Most of those questions are not related, most of those inquiries are not related to the finance, it's related to the program. In talking with Manager Alligood and Anita and our counterparts at the state, most counties utilize their emergency services or emergency management staff as those points of contacts, and then we communicate internally. The second piece of this agenda is changing that designated form for these types of programs moving forward. So again, I just want to be transparent with what's on the agenda item and what you're voting to approve. So it's to accept the MOA, and it's to change the designated agents to me as the primary and DC as the secondary, and then if we can funnel those conversations however is needed from the financial standpoint.
Everybody understand that both parts of it?
How many counties, you said most counties, how many counties has changed that to emergency management?
In talking with Christine from the state, every county she deals with.
Well, is that 100 or 15?
She's regional, so I'm not sure how many counties that she oversees. Just in her experience, and I did not ask a specific number, but I can find that out.
I just wondering when you said most counties doing it.
That was her assessment and the way she described it to us.
I I just like to have, if anything go wrong, I like to have my finance director on the hoop.
Right.
She's got to sign it, right? Okay, did we get a motion? We didn't, okay.
I'll make the motion.
All right, we do have a motion, I'll second that. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're down to the Pamplico Sound Regional Hazardous Mitigation Plan, DC.
Yes, sir. Chairman, Commissioners. So Beaufort County has historically utilized the Pamplico Sound Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. This complies with various state and federal statutes that are required by local government to maintain all hazard mitigation plans. These plans are required to be updated every 5 years, with the latest update recently be approved for state and federal authorities. So what this plan does, it helps us on our IA and PA money, such as the HMGP that Director Newkirk just talked about. So we are requesting for your approval of the following resolution and to adopt the updated Pamplico Sound Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
If we adopt this resolution, is there any expense to the county?
No, sir.
No expense whatsoever.
No, sir.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve,
Second.
and we have a second. Any discussion further?
Still reading.
It's long. It's a long plan.
Are you going to write an executive summary for the commissioners? Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand.
Thank you.
Brian, did somebody cut the heat on?
Yes,
Okay, the next item is the purchase of the demo.
The demo.
It's abbreviated. Katie's got it on there that way.
We're buying a wreck ambulance.
No, I hope not. We did have an accident over the weekend, though.
Let's talk about the purchase.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Again, coming back to you on a topic we spoke on the last Commissioners meeting where we saw an opportunity for cost savings in pursuing the purchase of a demo or display type ambulance over a new purchase. With your permission from the last meeting, we proceeded with the RFP process. We got two companies that replied back to that. On the second page to this agenda abstract, you see the scoring summary on that. The two that responded were Atlantic and Southeastern. Both are local to Eastern North Carolina. Good experience and reputation throughout this part of the state. The things that separated these two vendors, one obviously was price. Atlantic was about $20,000 cheaper. They were also guaranteeing delivery within August 25th, August of 2025. So they have a demo that's readily available for us to pick up and put in service in August. Southeastern actually priced this as if they were building a new truck, so they're 24 to 36 months out. Great price on a new truck, but Atlantic was cheaper and has a faster delivery date on that. So those were the separating factors that we saw as we scored it out. Have Jeff here as well, who was instrumental in the RFP process and the scoring piece. Be happy to take any questions you all have.
Make a motion that we proceed with the purchase from Atlantic Emergency Services.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions of Chris or Jeff?
That's pretty good, bud. You must have had that one in soak, because if you go out there to buy a car now, you take you 90 days to get a car, so you've done pretty good.
Like I say, we've been working on this throughout the year since last budget process. We just knew the market was changing, so just trying to stay on top of that, but I appreciate it.
All right, we got a motion. Anybody else? All those in favor of the purchase of the 2025 Ford E450 ambulance, raise your right hand. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
You're not gonna talk about the wreck?
So, you know, I feel like, I feel like I jinxed it. We had talked during the budget process how fortunate we've been on vehicle repairs. And we worked with our risk manager, Miss Jennifer, about 2 years ago to start putting those brush guards on the front of our vehicles. And man, they have saved us so many times. In this particular case, it saved the front of the vehicle, but it did not save the front quarter panel. So we minimized it for sure, but we did have an accident, unfortunately.
Okay, we're down to the health department.
Hello again. My posse. Just kidding. He thought he would listen. Good evening. So the health department is requesting to purchase a 2025 Chevy Silverado truck. This is going to be used part-time in our environmental health office, but also for our mobile unit. Our mobile unit has been able to be pulled around only thanks to the grace and goodness of emergency management for loaning some truck services large enough to pull our mobile unit. We did have a truck that was given to us about 1.5 years, 2 years ago from EM, and it is completely. So we would love to purchase this with no county funds, and us to have a truck waiting at Lee Chevrolet if you approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
She said no county funds.
Keyword.
Okay.
Awesome.
Everybody in favor, raise your right hand.
Thank you.
What color is it?
Is that out front, Stacy?
It will be tomorrow.
It will be tomorrow. Okay, we're down west. Solid waste.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Tonight I come before you with a request to award a contract for our second round of solid waste site improvements. These would be performed at the Aurora, Buck Jones, 5 Points, and Pantego solid waste collection sites. You had a copy of the RFP included in the agenda for reference. It was kind of long, so I'm sure you all read every word of it. But the scope of work in this includes some demolition of some unsafe wooden structures, repair of some retaining walls, installation of handrails, and lighting and electrical improvements. We advertised this RFP on May 8th on the Beaufort County website as well as some other avenues, and we directly emailed it to 10 construction firms that we felt may have interest in performing the work. We received one bid back from B.E. Singleton & Sons with a bid value of $357,307. The existing capital project fund currently only has $334,018 round numbers available. So we are recommending that we would reduce the project scope by a total of $34,500 to bring the contract amount down to $322,807. You had a spreadsheet attached that detailed what those scope reductions were, but I'm here to ask for you to approve the contract and the award. Contract in the amount of $322,807 to B.E. Singleton & Sons.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I was reading this earlier, and I noticed how we only had one bid. Did you get notifications from the other 10 that they had received the, did they give any reasons why they did it?
No, we've constantly run into this. We had the same situation the first round we did. We received one from B. Singleton. We re-advertised it. We had one that basically said, "Do you need another bid?" We said no. We said yes, and they said, "We'll turn something in, but this isn't really normally how we bid projects." So they were higher. B. Singleton was the low one on that one as well. They got that work, and they performed the project well, and everything went smoothly.
Where do you advertise?
It's posted on our website. The purchasing officer puts it on the Department of Administration website for historically underutilized businesses. And those are our key avenues.
Okay. Might need a little more advertisement in different places. That's what I'm thinking.
So my question is, for these 4 sites, do we own all 4 of them?
We do not own any of these sites. However, a lot of these improvements have to do with safety. They're not necessarily just things that we want to do. It's things that we feel need to be done for the safety of the users.
I understand that, but how many of these sites are going to disappear when we do the mega sites, if and when?
That would be up to the board.
I don't see, we've gone this long without improvements on something. I can't see improving something that we don't own, that we potentially in a year's time going to shutter and close up and scrape down to bare dirt to return it to its former self. That's just my thoughts. It is a good thought, and but if somebody go out there and get hurt, that $334,000 is just a drop in the bucket, especially if I fall over.
I think we're going to be leaving more of these open than meets the eye. So I'd say let's go ahead and fix them up while we can.
I think one of the things I'm struggling with on the mega sites and how many of these other sites we're going to leave open is that the public has really made the point is that they want something that's close by. And I'm afraid to close down any of them unless it's really close to the mega sites until we have some data. You know, if we have some data for a year after the mega sites are open to know what kind of tonnage we're getting in these other ones, I think we can make better decisions on them. And I tell you, I'm a strong believer in the safety aspects. And as I go around to some of these, I mean, it can happen. It can happen. And I know at Beach Ridge, the one at Pantica needs some tender loving care.
Well, we had tonnages at the meeting that we had on the mega sites. They gave us tonnage, and some of these sites are very, very lightly used. It may be that what we need to do is bring this back next month and start another firestorm by deciding which ones are going to be closed permanently. That might help us in making our decision on this site here. If you want to do it that way, this is a lot of money. And I don't have a problem with looking at the whole plan. We've got to make a decision sooner or later on what we're going to keep closed and what we're going to keep open and what we're going to use for a temporary schedule, because my understanding is most of these places that we're going to leave open, we intend to only have them open a few days during the week. We probably need to go ahead and make that decision before we decide to spend this money.
Can you guys come back with a map now that, and I know we're still in the process of where these 2 mega sites actually owning the property. I mean, I would love to see a ring around the mega site, and then let's see where the other ones are that we own, and do just like everybody's saying. We don't want to waste any money, but it may be that one of these lease sites we have to make the improvements on anyway, because it may be the only alternative. Does that make sense? When can, I mean, this is for you and Brian and Amanda, whoever, when do you guys feel comfortable identifying where the mega sites are going to be, and let's draw a map so that we can make a decision on.
I believe we have presented that when we've been in the discussion regarding the property acquisition. We've shown that on the maps, but we can certainly do that again. And we understand we've had this conversation numerous times over the
But that was done
writing
in,
the
that was done
RFP.
in closed session.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When can you show it on the screen and we pass copies to our neighbor?
I would say after the closing. Is that?
After the closing? Okay.
Both.
So I would suggest
Yeah.
waiting until after the closing for both parcels and then doing that. So that may not be next month, it may be the following month, August. Is that correct?
I mean, I don't have any problems doing what they're saying, hold
Right.
off.
And like I said, Wes and I have discussed that, and I told him to be prepared for that because I suspected that would be the question. But even, even after that discussion, I'm not, whether you're able to make the final decision of what stays open and what stays closed, some of the things that are listed in this RFP will need to be done anyway, because if the site will continue to be open for the next 18 to 24 months. There's still repairs that need to be made. As you spoke at Beach Ridge, some of the retaining walls and things like that need to be done. So I think if you're looking through the RFP that's in there and you look at the specific items that were listed on page, let's see if you look at the bid form.
Beach Ridge is on 389. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes. Yes. So when you're looking at, removing an existing pole and the drains and removing the wooden bumpers and metal brackets and things like that. So some of that work will still need to be done just for the sites to continue operating for the next 18 to 24 months. But again, we can certainly look at specifics for each of the sites. We can have the map that you mentioned with the radiuses of the travel time and that type of thing around it. And then we'll have also additional photographs of the site so that you're able to see the specific items that's listed on the bid for the things like that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So, in general, those two mega sites are roughly, the idea from the board was that they would be roughly located somewhere midway of both sides of the river.
Yes.
So I think even at that, you could go ahead and eliminate the Pantigga site and the Aurora site, because I don't think you're going to be within distance of those from the mega sites. They're at the extreme ends of our county, and even if you didn't want to move forward with all of it, I think you could at least move forward with the Pantigga site and the Aurora site. Would y'all agree with that?
Well, I mean, the Pantigga site is as far as you can go. Yeah.
They are also both lease sites, though. We do not own those sites.
But do you want to fix them? I mean, they need to be fixed.
Yes. But
What kind of lease do you have on those sites?
we do not, the Aurora site, we lease from the town of Aurora. The Pantigga site is Republic Services leases that site, and then we pay Republic Services, so we're the second party on the lease. So we're paying the markup.
Yeah, I think before we spend any money on either one of them, we need to secure a pretty solid lease.
We don't, we have a lease with the town of Aurora.
Yeah, but the Republic site, we need to work something out with them.
Could we assume the lease? I think it's what Stan's saying.
Well, assume it or
Would they
we
allow
can
us to
negotiate it.
Assume their lease. We would become first on the lease.
I believe the direction that I had previously received was that we would be, we would get out of the leasing business and we would look at purchasing the property. If we wanted to keep a collection site in that area, then we would look at purchasing a parcel, and then.
Maybe what we should do is look at this time at purchasing, if you want to solve that problem. I don't have a problem with leases, they work, but if you.
I don't have a problem with leases either, as long as they're long-term. I mean, yeah, 99 years or longer.
If you want to have a fee title on it, then we need to talk to Republic about us approaching the property owner about purchase.
Well, it would make good sense if we're going to keep it open for us to go ahead and approach Republic, I think.
The county has leased both of those properties, definitely 20 plus years, probably close to 30 years that they've leased the same property.
I think on both properties, it would make sense for us to move in that direction with the idea that we want to make some improvements. You know,
I don't know whether the town of Aurora, they might have a problem again that they like that revenue, but then again, they may be willing to take a sale.
So you would like us to come back showing the map and then give pros and cons, or do we want us to approach the landowners? What information do you need from us in order to make decisions on?
Have you given us, like, the amount of trash that comes out of each?
Yes.
You've given us that, I'm sure you have.
Yeah, we get that back again when you bring us them out from each of these sites, the tonnage. I remember the tonnage charts.
I know we've, at least the past 3 years that we've been discussing it, so we bring it back each year.
But I don't have a problem with letting a sleeping dog lie myself and not doing anything on either one of these sites because the town of Aurora enjoys the high amount of money that we pay for that site. And if Republic were to abandon their lease, you know, the presumption is that the people that are leasing it now would be willing to lease it to us. So, you know, that's the way leases work.
Yeah, but Hood, I don't want to spend money unless we got control of the land. I can't see it because we're in a bad negotiating position after that.
Did you ever have a business in a mall?
No.
Well, you spend a lot of money in a mall.
I know, and that's probably why I would never have one in a mall.
I have.
From a safety standpoint, we need to probably move on this thing.
The most concerning is the part that people talk about the most, which are the rails. But again, I think anyone who has any safety training and has seen any terrible videos that are shown in safety trainings, when you go to our sites that have the new rails installed and then you go to our other sites that do not have the rails installed, I think it becomes very obvious of the hazard that are at all of these sites every day that people are walking up to. Yeah. So the rails are the issue that, to me, that leaves the county with the most exposure, that a risk has been identified, a fix has been suggested, and whether we choose to act on that or not. I'm not an attorney, but that seems to be a bit of
problem here is if you decide that you want to purchase those properties, it may take a year or two before you spend money on them. It may take a year or two to do all the negotiations and get everything complete. So, yeah, I think you're waking up a sleeping dog.
and they've got to remain open. I mean, we've identified 2 of the 4 that would probably remain open.
I don't have any problems with the 2 fuller ones being done on that. Keep in mind, my full-time job is Director of Health, Safety, and Environmental Affairs. I know safety, I know OSHA, I've dealt with OSHA for over 25 years, so I know the standards, and yes, I hate those rails, but yes, they are very required and meet standards and everything, so, you know, how we got away with not having them for all these other years, I don't know. So I understand the need for the rails. I just don't understand, you know, if a site is potentially going to be closed down in a year or 2 years, why we would spend money on it. But Antigua one and Aurora one, I don't have any problem spending money on those because it sounds like we're going to keep those and potentially buy them or ask to buy them in the future.
I don't have a problem with people out here spending money on those 2.
Do you need to rebid, or are they going to be happy with doing just 2?
No, those are broken into parts, aren't they? If I understood the paperwork, each one's bid individually. They can be broken out individually. It's not a lump sum.
Correct. It's line items.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind, we're bringing this to you. The funds have already been, previous boards, the funds have been awarded and allocated. So this work had been previously approved. We're just bringing to you the contract.
I move
So
we proceed with the bids and make the improvements at the Aurora and the Beach Ridge facilities.
I'll second that. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you.
Just for clarification, so that's on two sites, so the Buck Jones site and then the 5 Point site.
My
Is
impression
there-
is we would consider those when you bring us back the maps and the information that we've asked for.
Okay, we'll
That's
do
my
that.
understanding.
Okay, that's, and then also perhaps, even if all of the work is not done, would we be able at that time to go back and to select certain line items if the contractor is in agreement?
I think we should if the contractor's in agreement, and you're talking about satisfying safety requirements.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like
I
each of the
I
sites.
personally don't have a problem with that.
Buck Jones, there are 10 line items listed, and then the 5 Points, there are 10 line items listed. So I would like us to be able to go back and, even if all of the work was not done, for us to be able to go back in and to select certain line items that of greater importance.
Do we need to vote on that now, or do we need to wait until you bring us the rest of the information? If you're gonna fix safety, I think we should go ahead and vote to fix safety. The contractor would be able to respond better if he had all of this together at one time.
What's the page number again?
You want to make another motion for the other two sites?
Yeah, I make a motion that we, at the other two sites, that we proceed with the line items that have to do with safety at those sites.
Okay, and we have a second. All those in favor of doing that at 5 Points and Buck Jones, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Anita?
Caught me sleeping. What page am I on?
Okay, you're on page 440.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So my item this evening is reimbursement from the grant for the school, for the new school, Eastern Elementary School. We actually are drawing down 2 requests from WIMCO. There was a little bit of a mix-up, so we have included here their March invoice and their April invoice. The March invoice got sent to the wrong individual at the school, so there was a delay in the schools approving it before it got sent to me. That's why we're kind of doubling up here tonight. But basically, on page 441, you have the reimbursement number 3. The total reimbursement of WIMCO is $966,552.36. You can see the state shares, the $780,000, and the county shares, the $185,000. And then you got the reimbursement request right behind that on page 442 to the lottery funds for the grant portion. And following that is the individual breakdown and all the details of that reimbursement request.
I have a question before we make a motion.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, on page 450, excuse me, it gives a total at the top of the page called scheduled value, $43,120,100. Is that the amount of the contract to WIMCO?
Yes.
Okay, so after that, there's about $9 million that's left to be used for other things.
We expect that project to come in under budget.
Well, that's
Well, this excludes the architectural fees, which were, I think, close to
$2
$2
million.
million. Mm-hmm. But
Okay.
yeah, we expect that budget to come in under budget.
But
or
what
not
are the
possibly
other
budget.
items? See, one of the problems I have with this whole process is this board has never been presented with a schedule of fees and contracts and expenses. And we're sitting here approving money, not knowing what we're approving, but there's $9 million out there now that we don't know what it's going to be spent for. Actually, we don't know what the $43 million is going to be spent for. We presume to build some buildings.
Well, the line item detail are on the previous pages. I mean, you've got three pages, actually 104 lines, starting on page 447, and it ends on page 449, on exactly what the description of work is, the value.
Nowhere in these schedules, all these schedules brings it down to is what's being paid to WIMCO for their contract for building the building. Nowhere in here does it bring down the other $9 million and say what it's for. it talks about paying WIMCO, and that's the only schedule that we have.
Well, that's because this reimbursement is strictly for WIMCO. The
But-
first reimbursement we did was for the architect, and that's when I showed you the details of that reimbursement.
I'm back to where I started with this whole process and what I've complained about all along. Nobody seems to know what's really going on.
We've had several meetings on that. I've been to them and I've seen them and they've explained all of this.
Well, Randy,
you weren't there.
Where's the summary for the other $9 million?
Well, the $9 million is going to be at the end of the process.
Oh, so it's just out there, it's walking around.
Well, I
right?
mean, they are under budget. So
No, that's not-
they're going to be under budget, or they say they're going to be under budget. We got to make sure at the end of the game that the money's there. Then we'll decide what to do.
I'm talking about business management. There was supposed to have been a budget prepared for the whole $52 million.
You know that they've got a budget.
We have never seen it. This board has never seen it. But this board is sitting here approving money that are clueless about who's going to be over or under or what this money is going to be.
The work's been done. You got to pay for it.
Randy, we're talking about business management. We're not talking about good buddy writing checks and going broke.
I know, but no, we're under budget.
That's not what my question is.
Well, we're going to build a beautiful school, and it's on the way.
You sound just like the big cheese.
Okay, hold it. Anita?
I just wanted to remind everybody that this board has approved a project budget ordinance.
Yeah.
A project ordinance for a lump sum amount of money. We don't know.
Actually, it was detailed. There's at least 8 lines, and I can see
Oh,
that
8 lines in a $52 million budget. I remember seeing that. It did absolutely nothing for what it was supposed to do. My question to you is, how is the other $9 or $10 million going to be spent, and you don't know?
I will send you the budget ordinance tomorrow. I can tell you right now.
No, I don't want the budget ordinance because I already know that is inferior. I want to know how this other $9 or $10 million that's listed on this is going to be spent. What are we going to buy with it?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Richardson, the value of the construction contract is over $43 million. The architect was $2 million. That puts us up to $45 million. You have furnishings. I believe they were $1.5 million. That puts us up to $46.5 million. There was some contingency in there. And I'm going from memory here, but that is getting you pretty near the $49 million.
All you need to do is to send me that detail then. Send me what you have. And let's see if it does what it's supposed to do.
I'm happy to send you that in the morning.
But commissioners sitting on all this money, and commissioners are ultimately responsible for the money.
Okay, any other questions? All right, need a motion to approve the,
I'll make that motion.
okay, we've got a motion, and I'll second that. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, thank you. Now we're down to Brian. You got the next item.
Actually, Chairman, I've got that. We have an opening on the RPO tax board, as you have resigned from that board, and I believe Commissioner Booth said you would take that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a volunteer. So all I need is a motion to approve Commissioner Booth.
Second that. All those in favor of Ed stepping up and being our appointed RPO-TAC.
You need an alternate.
Huh?
Maybe you need an alternate.
Well, let's get you first. Is there a second? Okay. All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Now
I need an alternate to take Commissioner Booth's place, because he
Okay.
was actually your alternate.
all right. Do we have a volunteer?
And just so you know, the alternate only goes if Commissioner Booth is not available.
Well, I'll take the alternate spot. Okay, going.
Thank you.
You'll be going a lot.
All right. I'll make a motion that Randy be the alternate. Do we have a second? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you. All right, we're down to Commissioner Richardson. The first one you got is the Chocowinity Industrial Park.
Well, we've never done anything about this Chocowinity Industrial Park, and it's not going to develop until it's rezoned. It's been sitting out there since 2007 with the town of Chocowinity in control and nothing happening. And, what happens when it comes up on the screen in Raleigh, everybody says, oh, it's listed with commerce, and it says light industrial. People going to keep right on going. It's going to have to say heavy industrial if you get anybody in there. Or unzoned is what it was before. And I'll make the motion again that we ask our representatives in Raleigh to repeal the session law that created the ability of Chocowinity to zone this industrial park.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that, with the understanding that we are going back to the way it was pre-2006.
Yeah, when they unzone it, it's unzoned. When they repeal that bill, it becomes unzoned.
Absolutely.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? All right, do you want to go to S.W. Snowden Elementary School?
Okay, we had a letter that has never been discussed from Paola Sejan, Dean of the College of Education at NC State University, offering to help us keep Snowden open. And even though it looks like it's going to be closed right now, I think that we should ask the manager to contact the dean and find out how he thinks he might be able to help us and report back to us at the next commissioners meeting. Yeah.
I'll second that. I mean, if they do close Snowden, we got a remainder interest in that building, in that property. And we get the right to purchase it from them at a bargain basement price, whatever we decide to give them. So I'd like to know all our options if we get that piece of property back. Could be economic development in Aurora for a private school to move down there, or a charter school.
I mean,
And we could sell it to them at a profit.
Hood, I've read the letter twice, and I just don't understand what somebody in Raleigh with NC State is going to be able to tell us about the S.W. Snowden Elementary School.
That's precisely why we need to ask.
Well, I mean, to me, if we wanted to ask somebody, I mean, I always look at our neighbor East Carolina as being the best when it comes to education.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't, and I'm an NC State graduate.
But you see, East Carolina hasn't offered, and NC State has.
Well, we can ask. We can ask East Carolina.
Look, obviously NC State must have some reason for being able to help us. It seems to me, Mr. Chairman, you voted to close this school, and now you're voting to not accept help to keep the school open. So I make a motion. My motion's on the floor. It's been seconded. So let's vote it and see who still wants to close Snowden.
Okay.
Wait, this is about closing Snowden or accepting this letter and...
About finding out if there's any help that we can get.
Maybe you should walk across campus and talk to the guys that did the study several years ago.
Okay. Did you second it? Do we have a motion and a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand.
4.
Okay. Those opposed? All right. What is your next one?
Well, the next one involves Chairman Waters when he placed a sign saying that it was $22,000.
No, wait a minute. That's not on the agenda. I'm looking.
It's a multiple agenda.
I'm looking at SW on the recap sheet of the agenda. It
You
says
look on
W.
page.
Snowden.
You look on page 465.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay, placing the sign at the meeting, pulling it out of thin air that it costs $22,000 to educate a child at Snowden and $9,000 at Bath with no backup, no background. no number, no data, other than his consultation with the school superintendent, who we know is an engineer, and he's an appraiser, and he's a PhD educator, and he's all of these things. So I guess that now he's now he's also a fantastic bookkeeper, which I know that he is not. That was unethical. You should have shared the background information that you had with this board before you presented it to the public.
Where was the sign at?
We put it right up there. It was right up there.
That's not what it says here.
It says a sign.
It says outside the commissioners meeting.
It says a sign, well, that's misspelled. Inside the commissioners meeting, not outside the commissioners meeting. You put it right up there. That's the sign I'm talking about. You know,
Weren't we given that figure at the Aurora get-together?
you were not.
Here it is. I mean, I didn't pull it out of the air, Randy. This was the information that was passed out.
It's a little bit late now to be sharing that
On
information.
April the
with the
16th.
board.
You had it. You don't read your stuff.
I read my stuff, but you
April the 16th. April the 16th. It was 2,676,000 on this spreadsheet. I divided it by 100. Listen. I divided it by 119, and the number's 22,493, which was on the screen. Okay. Let me see if I can find the other one. The other one was a spreadsheet that I had been given the board an update on every year, and that number for 24 was 12,415, and you've had it. That goes all the way back to 2020. I think you ought to apologize.
No,
I think you ought to apologize.
Ethics. We're talking about ethics.
You don't know what ethics is. You don't know what ethics
when
is.
When you pull this kind of stuff without letting the board know, and you're chairman of the board, Frankie, you and I have had this conversation over and over. You don't know your responsibilities as chairman of the board, and you are unethical.
Well, at least I hadn't had to go take a specialized ethics course.
I've had several of them.
Yeah. Apparently you didn't.
Would you like?
Apparently you didn't pass.
Would you like? Yes, I did.
Apparently
Would you like? That makes me extremely sensitive to ethics.
Okay. How about going to Aurora transfer?
Where you see Aurora transfer, a motion to close the not to close the SW Snowden School. That's the third thing on my list right there. You know, and I think we've already voted this, so it becomes a moot question to vote it because 4 of you have voted tonight to close the school. Let me point out something to you about political strategy that you missed in this. If you had been willing to offer the school board $300,000 to keep the school open, politically you were covered in anything that could ever come up on closing that school. But instead, you decided to do the Republican thing, shoot yourself in both feet by voting to close the school. Now, you know, you guys politically are not sharp at all.
The only thing I've tried to do with my conversation with people is be honest with them and tell them where my position is, and that's why I voted like I did.
Well, that's why I'm talking about ethics.
I remember one of the first meetings I went to when it came time for the budget. You sat there and you said, let's give I don't know why y'all discussing this school budget. Let's just give them everything they want. It was in the old room over there, and I was new, and I thought, well, gee whiz, he's not as bad as everybody says he is. And then he didn't vote for the budget. And then that's how I learned. That's how I learned that the politics play.
Frankie, I can stand here and argue all night one way and then vote against it when the ultimate time comes.
I gotta say one thing. I've been up here with HUD longer than anybody, and HUD can be facetious from time to time. You just gotta recognize that.
Okay, let's go to your comments on the dumping trash at the Aurora transfer.
Well, back to item number 3, a motion not to close SW Snowden School. Even though that has been voted, this is the superintendent's report on closing the SW Snowden School. He combined 2 or 3 reports together, and I have read it. And the quality of the report has the thinking and the logic of a 6th grader. Number 1, not discussed in here, is having the additional expense of having to haul students from Aurora to Chocowinity. But what is discussed and is presented as the whole transportation deal is what goes on inside of the S.W. Snowden transportation area. It's a false report. It's a misleading report. It has the same charts in it as you were talking about before, Frankie. It is false, and it is misleading.
I think that's been updated by now because they had a good speak on it the last school board meeting about the transportation. In fact, the head of transportation was there, and they came to the conclusion that it was a wash, that sending them to Chocowinity is about the same as sending them like they're doing now. And so they called it a wash, that it was about even.
Well, let me see if I got this right. You can pick up students in the S.W. Snowden School District and haul them to the S.W. Snowden School as cheaply as you can pick up students in the S.W. Snowden District and haul them to Chocowinity. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, you said tonight that we were going to be buying 4 buses, and what he was talking about, there was no provision for buying buses on what I was listening to, and the only snag was some special needs kids, and they had that worked out. So they've already got it kind of figured out if they have to do that, depending on what the school board decides, maybe Tuesday night. I'm going to support the school board. It's their job. That's what they do. So I'm going to support them whatever it is.
Well, I'm going to say it again. You can pick up students in the S.W. Snowden School District and haul them to the center of the district as cheaply as you can pick up students in the district and haul them 25 miles out of the district. That's what you just told me, and that's what you just said. I want people to understand something that's going on here. Having proof that's signed by somebody is important. Nowhere in this education process, from the beginning of the process to build the monstrosity over here on at Eastern Elementary, through the Snowden School, do you have a document that is signed by anybody? You don't have any other than the grant application.
I watched them sign it. They signed it at the school board. T.W. Allen signed it, and Wimco signed it.
None of the financial information is signed and attested to. It is all false.
All of the things you do are designed to slow this process down, and they hope that somebody will trip up on some of these numbers that you throw out. But that school's going to get built. It's being built right now. It's a beautiful school, a beautiful big school. Can't wait for it to get. Are you coming to the ribbon cutting?
No, I won't be at the ribbon cutting.
I wouldn't think you would.
Okay, gentlemen,
but I want to say it again. This is fraud. That's what this is, and it's presented by the school. Nobody has signed this stuff. Nobody has attested to anything that's in here. It's whatever they want it to be on that day. And until somebody's willing to sign something and swear that something's true and accurate, I don't believe them, because I know better. And it's my job as the public's representative not to believe everybody that comes in front of me trying to tell me something. So this whole thing is fraud. Going on, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we're down to Katie, closed session.
No, we're down to Aurora.
Dumping trash.
I'm just bringing this up. I don't think we need to beat on it. We've talked about it a lot before. If we're going to keep that Aurora site open, we need to address it. And that is people from Pamlico County who have to pay to get rid of their trash and have to pay to get rid of certain things are hauling trash into Beaufort County and unloading it at the Aurora site. And I'm getting complaints from people at Aurora about trailer loads of trash showing up, and the attendant never even goes out to challenge them. So we need, and we have talked about before, some kind of a badge system or some kind of a system to know, excuse me, who has the ability, the right to dump at Aurora. And we need to get back on this. I'd like to take it up at the next meeting, especially since we voted tonight to improve that site. And we can reduce our tonnage down there and our expenses if we do this. Apparently, it's pretty significant if you've got people in the community that are complaining about it. Okay?
So, Mr. Chairman, just for the board, the county attorney and I had a conversation while y'all were talking, and I'm good. I don't need a closed session. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, we're down to, yes.
Can I ask for further explanation for what it is you would like to discuss next month?
I'd like to discuss a method of controlling the dumping from outside of the county. How are we going to do this? We've talked about a lot of different things, and I think one way may be to have a badge or a sticker or something that would maybe go out with the tax bills in that area, some way of identifying so that the attendants at the site will know who is supposed to be dumping there and who's not.
So I agree with you. We've had this discussion before, so we've presented different options previously. So do we just want to bring those back to you with updated numbers and that type of thing? Is that what you're looking for?
I think so.
Or do you have a new
No, I don't have anything that's new and innovative. No, ma'am.
Just wanted to make
I wish
sure.
I had the answer to it.
We'll
but
pull back out what we previously discussed and options that we are aware of or that you have requested previously for next month.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Yeah, commissioners' comments.
God knows, y'all have already given us enough comments, haven't you?
I'd like to say one thing.
Okay.
I can't remember anybody other than myself and Hood, maybe Jerry. But Don Davenport was our manager for a number of years. He was the first manager I've ever served with. He was a good man. He died back on, I believe, May the 6th. And he had Parkinson's for a number of years. A lot of people didn't know it. He served with distinction here in Beaufort County, also in Hyde County and Greene County. He was a good man. I would like to, I've said some prayers for he and his family. I'd like for everyone to be mindful that he did serve, he served well, and he's gone now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stan.
Very nice, Stan. You can do it when you want to, can't.
I like Don. Don was a good man.
Well, I knew him. I didn't serve with him, but I
videotaped him many an hour.
paths crossed. Okay? They have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. All those in favor, raise your right hand.